Hello. In this unit, we want to look at a third management style, which is really a combination of two we've already studied. We're going to look at situational leadership. And situational leaders are those who modify their leadership style depending on the circumstances that they face. This is something called a contingent leadership style. In other words, the choices that you make as a leader are contingent upon the people that you lead and the circumstances that you face. Now, a couple of definitions here. Contingency theory says that leaders must adjust their leadership based on circumstances, based on what's happening around them, while situational leadership says that leaders adjust their leadership style specifically based on the needs of their followers and the readiness of the followers to be led in certain ways. Arguably, not a lot of difference here. The most important thing to remember, situational leadership is really just a subset of contingency theory. The primary guru of contingency leadership theory is a gentleman named Fiedler. Professor Fiedler looked at when are different styles of leadership effective, and he came down to the primary difference being the structure of the environment. So he said, for example, in a poorly structured environment, leaders with good interpersonal skills and good relations with followers perform the best. In other words, poorly structured environment, this is a situation when the rules don't work very well or the rules are not clear. And the people who do the best as leaders are the ones with good communication skills and the ability to build strong relationships with followers, transformational leaders. So when the rules don't work, transformational leadership is what you need. And Fiedler's contingency theory then says, so an effective leader should become transformational when they recognize that the environment is poorly structured. In a clearly structured environment where the rules are clear and effective, then the leaders who are most effective are those who are impersonal and have no special relations with followers. In other words, transactional leaders. When the rules are clear, then what you want is a leader who can impersonally and fairly enforce the rules for everyone and can model the right behavior in terms of following those rules themselves. So clearly structured, we want transactional. Poorly structured, we want transformational. The important thing, if you are that leader, is your ability to recognize when you're facing each situation. There's something called path-goal theory, which looks at leadership as a choice of paths to get you to a common goal. And there are a number of styles that emerge from this theater. Directive leadership says that you should give employees clear direction. If people are confused, if people don't understand what's going on, then the leader should give them clear guidance to make them more effective and to lower their stress. That works very well in confusing situations where people don't understand it. But if people are doing very boring jobs already, simply giving them more guidance on how to do a boring job that they find unmotivating does not help. Supportive leadership says that we should support employees through challenging periods. When things are changing around us and people aren't sure about the future, then we should be supportive. We should help them relax, tell them that things are going to be okay. Now, this works very well when employees are nervous, when employees don't know how they feel, but in situations where employees know their jobs very well, they understand the changes that are happening, and they enjoy their jobs and want to continue to do them well, supportive leadership isn't particularly effective. Participative leadership says that we should include employees in key decisions. This is most effective when employees have very high levels of ability and an internal locus of control. When we look later on at personality traits, we'll look at this in more detail. But at this point, internal locus of control simply means employees believe that they can control outcomes. They believe that what they do and they decide affects the future. So when you have employees who have strong abilities, they really know how to do their jobs well, and they believe that what they do is important to the future, then it's a great time to involve them in your leadership and to ask their opinions and to follow their advice on structuring jobs, on making changes, and on leading people. If your employees don't understand their jobs well, they have low levels of ability, or they have very external locus of control, they think that they can't control things, then involving them in your decision making is probably ineffective. Achievement-oriented leadership. This is when we set goals for employees and then we encourage them to meet these goals. Think of this as a combination of coaching and cheerleading. We want to coach employees toward those goals. We want to help them, we want to lead them to those goals, and we want to cheer them on and recognize them as they meet those goals. This is most effective when employees have high levels of ability and are already well motivated. They want to be successful, and we can just provide some guidance to help them be successful. This happens typically when employees have a lot of experience in jobs and situations that they're facing and have a strong professional orientation. They see themselves as professional contributors to the situation. The most important part about contingency theories to remember, they do work better in some cases than in others. Fundamentally, you look at the situation, you look at the employees that you are leading, you look at your followers, and you ask yourself, do I need to be a transactional leader or a transformational leader? So a situational leader is someone who can do that, someone who can change and adapt their leadership style to different circumstances. You can throw the switch over to transformational when things are changing and you need that, or you can throw it to transactional when things are stable and you need an efficient, stable operation. So a good situational leader can go to work in the morning as transactional. Halfway through the day, things begin to fall apart, rules have changed, customers are ordering something different, something unexpected has happened, people are nervous and stressed, and you become a transformational leader. And you tell people, follow me, I will show you a successful future. By the end of the day, you can have gone back and forth through multiple leadership styles over and over again as situation changes. These tend to be very experienced leaders with lots and lots of different experience in different circumstances. Someone who has only faced the same kinds of circumstances is seldom an effective situational leader, at least in the beginning. When we look at leadership traits, for situational leadership, depending on the situation, you'll need them all. So it's impossible to identify a single trait or set of traits that are more valuable to a situational leader than they are to other types of leaders. So a situational leader has to be one of the most broadly skilled of all leaders. They must be an extroverted, transformational leader who has great self-esteem, but they also need to be conscientious, they need superior integrity, and probably intelligence helps with everything. So, contingent situational leadership requires mastery of many different choices. If you can't master them all, master the ones that you can, but recognize that your first skill is to recognize the situation that calls for a change in your leadership style. You have to be able to get out of your comfort zone for leadership style as required. So this is leadership. This is, in particular, situational leadership. I would encourage you to read the chapter associated with this unit and to review the unit questions and try and answer them on your own. If you're at all confused about situational leadership, if you're not sure when or how to be an effective situational leader, then I would encourage you to review this video as often as you need.